So today's class is a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of vagal releases, it's balance coordination, it's neck, it's legs, it's abs and core, and a little bit glutes as well. So hopefully we'll fit everything in. So the first thing I want to start with is 3 new vagal exercises. So it's always good to do some new ones. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to just, you can tell by looking in the mirror which side of your nervous system is dysregulated and needs the most attention. They probably both do, but you can even see it in your sternocleidomastoid. You'll see that that muscle is a little bit more sticking out a bit more, a little bit more tense. But just start by pulling on the left ear, and you just start at the top, and you're just going to go around the edge of the ear, and you're just pulling. Just do that once or twice. I got to swallow just doing that. And then try the other ear and just see, you know, which ear seems a little bit stiffer. So for me, this ear seems a bit stiffer today. So it's not always to do with the neck, it's to do with the nervous system. So let's go back to the left side and let's just pull through the outer edge of the ear and then come to the earlobe and pull downwards and slightly backwards. And you're being very gentle, but you want to feel the stretch in the inside of the ear. So you want to feel the skin and the fascia in the back of the ear hole, just pulling away from the skull slightly. So I got a swallow there straight away, and I can feel that I've got a little bit more saliva in my mouth as well. So you might do that a few times, just come around the edge of the ear. So this is a good one to do if you're out and about and you're feeling a little bit stressed, a little bit angry, whatever, and you feel you're going into fight and flight, so you're pulling downwards and slightly backwards. It's one you can do that people wouldn't really notice you were doing it. So maybe just 3 times. Down and back. So if you were sort of sitting at a desk or something, you could do this and people wouldn't even notice. So just sort of stop for a minute and assess how you feel in the brain, because we've just communicated to the brain to balance and regulate the vagal system. So now go through the other side and you're just following the shape of the ear, just gentle, just gentle stretch. You're trying to get the pull on the skin inside the ear hole and then just pulling downwards and gently backwards. So again, immediately I wanted to swallow and I can feel the saliva building in my mouth. So these are all signs that the nervous system is regulating and you're switching into your parasympathetic nervous state. So you do that a few times. So maybe just holding it down for about 10 seconds. So super gentle. It's about talking to the nervous system, so we don't need to be rough. We just need to make that connection. And a lot of the nerves are in the fascial system rather than the muscles. So despite using the myofascia, then we can really get into the brain. So the next one is an unusual one, and another good one to do if we're sort of in a crowd and we don't want people to know what we're doing, is to take your right hand and you're going to go to the lower third of your thumb, and you're just going to rub it just gently. So you could do that with your thumb on the same hand, and you're just gently rubbing the inside of the lower third digit of your thumb. So you could do that with both at the same time, and it's just a way of balancing and regulating. If you're getting a little bit stressed, if you're getting a little bit wound up, then you could just do this, and it's going to message through the vagal system and some of the other nerves as well. Not that the vagal system is really the cranial nerve 10, but we've got 12 cranial nerves. So you're just doing that. And that will bring you into a calm, more focused state. So the final one is actually my favorite, and we could sort of put this together, is you're going to just start by pushing your tongue into the back of the roof of the mouth. So that on its own is a vagal balancing exercise. So you're pushing your tongue into the roof of the mouth, just gently, And then I want you to think of a lemon, and you'll start to, as you do that, the well of your lower jaw, your lower part of your mouth, will start to fill up with saliva. And maybe while you're doing that, you just gently go to the right side and you just gently rub the inner side of the lower digit of your little finger. And then maybe we could add in a third thing. We could look up and away to what would be 10 o'clock without moving the skull. So tongue into the roof of the mouth. Think of something sour that makes your saliva start to grow. Don't swallow. Let the saliva fill the lower part of the jaw. You're looking up to 10 o'clock. You're rubbing the finger. So multitasking here. And that action of the saliva filling the lower part of the jaw, using your tongue in this way, is really going to talk to the nervous system and the nerves coming in and out of the brainstem. And then just switch to rubbing the left lower part of the little finger and looking up to 2 o'clock, and just do another 20 seconds or so. Still not swallowing. So you're not going to feel like you want to gag, because the saliva is going to drop into the lower part of the mouth. But just the fact that you've got all that saliva in the mouth is also messaging the nervous system to regulate. And then just come into looking forward and now swallow. So you could do those singly. You could just do the rubbing of the finger. You could do the eye positioning. You could do the tongue, just the tongue into the roof of the mouth. Or you could think of the tongue in the roof of the mouth and think of something like a lemon that really activates your salivary gland. So all of that will have brought you into that nice, focused, balanced, calm state. And it would have checked in with your heart rate, your breathing, your blood pressure, your digestion, a whole load of things in the body. And you check in with your neck. Your neck should feel more relaxed, and you should feel more balanced, much calmer, more focused. So let's do 6 movements for the neck using torsion. So we're going to do rotation. So just imagine the shoulders are heavy, got a book balancing on the head, and you're just gently turning to one side and coming into center. You're moving into a comfortable range. You're doing it really slowly and about 60% range. So with this sort of release in the neck, you're just calming the neck muscles, the nerves, the trigger points, just by movement. So sometimes we stop moving when the neck gets tight, and we start to avoid certain movements, and that's just going to make things worse. So moving in and out of pain, but just very gently, very controlled, can be a good way of deactivating really unhappy muscles. So you do it about 10 times, periodically through the day. So then turning to the left, going up to the point of discomfort, not into pain. So usually one side is worse than the other. So if you notice that you're moving into the problematic side, just very slow, very gentle, so that the brain perceives through the nervous system that this is a safe, non-confrontational movement. You're not pushing the body into defense. You're just working with the muscles, and you're just increasing the blood supply, the lymphatic drainage, which that in itself might be enough to deactivate unhappy triggers. So we've got more proprioceptors in the neck than we have anywhere else because of head movement. So if we lose movement in the neck, we're going to find that our balance and coordination is seriously impacted. So slightly pull the chin in, retract the chin, and now you're lowering the head and you're looking up. So maybe the movement you need to do is up and down. So this one's going to get to the extensors in the back of the neck, the capitis muscles. So again, 60% range, nice and slow. Keep the chin slightly pulled in so that the neck muscles are active and stabilizing the neck. The one range the neck is not really great in is when you take the head to the back. So stretching the front of the neck, stretching the back of the neck. As you look up, you can even feel your chest muscles stretching. So you could make that a little bit stronger by putting your hands on your chest and just a gentle downward pull. So oftentimes if we're stiff in the neck, we're stiff in the chest muscles as well. So I'll get a good 10 to 20 of these. It was really nice to do this, I must admit. So then the next movement is going to be tilting. You're going to take your right ear to your right shoulder and you're going to lift your left hinge of jaw up to the ceiling. Come back through level, left ear to left shoulder, right hinge of jaw to the ceiling. So it's a little bit like a seesaw. Make sure the shoulders are down, they're not hunching up. So what we're doing here is we're pivoting the skull through C1 and C2 at the top of the spine. Really good for the sub-occipital triangle and for forward head postures. It's also going to stretch the scalenes in the sides of the neck. Think about the lengthening side rather than the compressing side. So rather than thinking about shortening, think about lengthening the jaw away from the collarbone, keep the shoulder down. Jaw away from the collarbone. So you could put your fingers on your collarbone if that helps you. And you're trying to move only from C1 and C2. So C1 is at the back of the mouth and C2 is just outside of the skull. So all happening at the top, not from the middle of the neck. So it might not be as big a movement as you think it should be. So if you're making a really big movement, you're probably moving from down here and you should be moving just from level with the ears. Again, if you're stiff, sides of the neck, just find your comfortable range, do it slowly in a very gentle, non-threatening way so the brain allows these muscles to relax and maybe come out of being in spasm. The next movement is protraction and retraction. This could be the most important movement of all. So you're going to extend your head and neck forward. You're going to come into neutral. You're going to tuck your chin. You could even push with your fingers and you're going to retract. So into neutral, protract, neutral, retract, and feel your skull, the back of your skull move backwards and upwards. So neutral, protract, neutral, retract, and feel the back of the skull pulling upwards. Protract, neutral, retract. So again, sub-occipital muscles, C1, C2, forward head posture, protract, neutral, retract, protract, neutral, retract, protract, neutral. So you do about 10 periodically through the day, protract, neutral, retract. Last one, protract, neutral, retract. Roll the shoulders, move the neck. Janet Jackson, you're going to keep your shoulders really still and you're going to move your skull over to the right, center, left, center. So again, the movement is happening level with the ears. So a little bit of a adjustment to the right, center, adjustment to the left. So you're just wiggling the top two vertebrae, right side, center, left side. Try not to move in the shoulders. right side, center, left side. Small movement, but really powerful. Don't turn your head, that's cheating. Right side, center, left side. So I'm quite stiff on this side, but you do notice as you do it, it gets a bit freer. So it's really good to adjust and wiggle the vertebra just to stop them getting stuck and stiff. Right side, center, left side. One more. Right side, center, left side. So one I need to practice. A quarter circle. You're going to take your nose to the left, drop your nose to the shoulder, come around to the chin on the chest. Then you're going to move out to the shoulder and come back. So you're moving the nose to the side, left side, drop the nose, glide the chin around to the center of the chest, come around. So do at least 5 of those. One more. A little bit crunchy, this one. So this is the range we least use our neck in. So now over to the right. Drop the nose to the shoulder, come down to the center. Nose to the shoulder, level up through the head and come back to looking forward. Nose right, nose to shoulder, chin to chest, nose to shoulder, level up the head. So for me, it's a little bit stiffer on this side, so I'm finding some really tight muscles at the back, the side and the back of my left neck. So this is the least used range. We do all the other ranges quite a lot. So once you've done 5, then you could sort of put that together. Right shoulder, roll down all the way around to the left shoulder, level up and come into center. Over to the left, all the way down and around, over to the right shoulder, level up into center. Right side, slowly down and around. Very crunchy, but it is getting freer. Over to the left side. Level up, one more, right side. As you take your chin down, notice how far back, how far down the back muscles you feel. So I can feel it right down to my shoulder blades. Last one. So mid-thoracic stretching, upper back and center, a few shoulders. So one final one, protract, neutral, retract, take your head up to the ceiling and then just move your nose between 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock. Do about 5, come back into center and bring the head back down. So do that again, protract, neutral, retract, keep the chin retracted as you look up and you're moving your nose between 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock. So again, you might find this a bit crunchy. We've got calcifications building up on the vertebra of the neck, which we can hear, and come back down. So one more time, protract, neutral, retract, take the head up, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Coming into center and come back down and just do a few shoulder rolls and just see how that feels. We could release the neck by squeezing the shoulders to the ears, clench the fist and release down through the fingers. So we squeeze, we clench the fist, so we're holding the tension, releasing the tension. Breathe in and hold the tension, breathe out, release the tension. Do 5 of these, shrug, squeeze. Release the tension out through the fingers. So imagine you're drawing your tension in and then out through the hands and the fingers and shake out. So let's just finish with rotation again. Let's just go from right to left. Just see how our neck's feeling. We could do a few shrugs. So let's come to standing and we're going to use our chair. So our chair is there for balance now. And we're standing sideways and we're going to have the feet just slightly apart. We're going to take our hips through all their ranges. So we're going to lift the knee into a flex position. We're going to take the knee across the midline of the body, the center line, and we're going to reach towards the leg of the chair. We're going to come back up into flexion. We're going to rotate the hip outwards. We're going to internally rotate the hip, externally rotate the hip. We're going to come around, so I'll do it sideways. You're going to go around into extension. This is often the most difficult movement. Extension into flexion, back into extension, bring the knee around as high as you comfortably can, and we'll do that 2 more times. So we're going to adduct the leg, take the leg across the center line. We're going to stretch and reach, that's your TFL. Come back into flexion. We're going to abduct the leg, take it away. We're going to internally rotate the head of the femur in the hip, externally rotate the head of the femur. Then we're going to do a simple rotation around towards the back, and then we're going to extend, and make sure you're not moving forward through the body. That's a cheat. Into flexion. So flexion is the easier movement, extension is what we're not so used to. Bring the knee as high as you can around, back into a flex knee. Adduction, moving towards center and reaching down to stretch the TFL. Into flexion, abduct to take away, internally rotate the femur, externally rotate the femur. High rotation, so I'll turn around as we go around into extension, but don't move your chest forward, into flexion. Second time into extension, see if you can keep your torso really still. High knee around, back into flexion. So one last time, adduct and extend. Into flexion, abduct, internal rotation. It's getting a little bit easier now. External rotation, high rotation around, and then see if you can lift the knee without moving and popping forward in the chest. Into flexion, into extension, high knee around, into flexion, and put the foot down. Just do a few little knee bends. And just take a moment now, and you should feel very different in your 2 hips. You can just stay as you are. I'll move the chair. We'll do the other side. So feet just slightly apart. So we're going to flex the knee. We're going to adduct and take it across the center line and reach towards the leg of the chair. So feel that stretch. You might notice there's a difference already in how this feels. Into knee fold. Going to abduct the leg. Internally rotate. Externally rotate. High rotation around, so a high knee around into extension. Don't let the chest pop. Into flexion. Into extension. Make that second time the one where you really focus on your body line. Come high knee around, back into flexion, adduct and reach. Into flexion, abduct, internally rotate, externally rotate, high knee around, so go as high as you can, do it slowly so you feel comfortable in your back, into extension, you want to feel the stretch through here, into flexion, into extension, high knee around, adduct and reach, last time, flexion, abduct, internal rotation, external rotation, high knee around, into extension, into flexion, last time into extension, high knee around, into fold, and put the foot down. And just do a few knee bends, and now you should hopefully feel a little bit more balanced in the hips. Hip triangles, face the chair. You're going to take your leg out to the side, standing knee soft, lift the leg. Bring it around. Can I do it without the chair in the way? So high leg to the side, soft standing leg to the back, and then bring the feet together. Take the leg back, extension, high leg around, feet together. That's 1 rep. So we'll do it again. Side, back, feet together, extension, rotation. Last time, out to the side, around, feet together. Try not to move too much in your spine. Make the hip do the work and do a few knee bends. So turning, or you could stay as you are. So you're going to have the chair for support, leg to the side, you lift the leg, you take the leg to the back, extension, bring the feet together. Try not to let the chest lean forward, that's cheating. Takes the work out of the legs, but it puts it into the back. Side and back, feet together, and back and side. So call these leg triangles, and it's 1 rep is to the back, feet together, and then returning. That is all 1 rep. So we did 3 on each leg. Just do a few knee bends. So again, change sides, so you're not using the same standing leg. And we're going to come into first position. We're going to think of a clock that goes around us on the floor, and we're going to reach with the outer leg to 12 o'clock and come back. And there's a little bit of a knee bend. And maybe you take the hand away from the chair, and we'll do 4. So now I'm going towards 1 o'clock. You've got that little tiny lunge, not enough to irritate the knee, but enough to bring in balance and coordination. 4, and then we're going to 2 o'clock. Great exercise for balance, coordination, and really strengthening the hip stabilizers. Then we're going to 3 o'clock. So you sort of notice that 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock are the harder ranges. We're doing 4, and you might notice now this standing leg is starting to fatigue. And then we're going to 4 o'clock. So make sure you're not arching your spine. Stay nice and neutral in your core. Then we're going to 5 o'clock. So my bottom muscles now are letting me know that they're working and they're getting tired. It's a great exercise, and you could eventually build up to 10. And then to 6 o'clock, which is the difficult range, you're going to have to balance. Don't make it so deep that you irritate the knee. You just want to feel it in your bottom muscles. Last one, 4. And then you're going to bring your feet together and do a few knee bends. Got a bit wobbly on that last one there. So just do a few heel raises. So change sides, change the standing leg. Make sure when you start you're in first position so that the standing knee is over the big toe and is nicely aligned. So we're going to reach to 12, little knee bend. Whether you hold the chair or not is up to you. So really everything below the ribs is working in this exercise, but specifically your 9 glutes. So now 11 o'clock. So we're doing 4 to each number, but eventually if you like this exercise, you could build up to 10. So then we're going to 10 o'clock. So our glutes want to be strong, they want to be balanced. And then out to 9. And then we're going towards 8 o'clock. So you might notice that some of these numbers on the clock are hard for you. So these are the ones we need to focus on. So for me, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, the brain's not so happy with that. And I'm on my weak leg, 7 o'clock. Generally 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock are the hard ones, depending on what's going on in your hips and your pelvis. And then we're coming into 6 o'clock. And now I can feel fatigue in my lazy side, which is good. But I'm having to use the chair because if there's compression on nerves, then that weakens the muscles and causes problems. Last one. So again, just do some knee bends, some heel raises, keep an eye on the time. So grab your pillow and let's just, let's put the left foot on the pillow, so just slightly on something that's going to make us a little bit unbalanced. And now we're going to hike our right hip up towards our right shoulder. No bending the knees. So as the hip moves upwards, the left glute complex contracts. So don't soften the knees because that will allow the quads and the hamstrings to take over. You're going to lock your knees and you're just thinking right hip to right shoulder. We'll do 10. And if you dig your fingers in your bottom on the left side, you can feel the muscles contract to stabilize as this right foot leaves the floor. There's a little bit of low transversus abdominis going on there as well. Never just one muscle. I can even feel my upper abs are working a little bit. Last one. So then you would bring the pillow under the right foot, lock your knees, the chair's there if you need it, and now you're hiking your left hip up to your left shoulder, no bend of the knees, and hopefully feeling the right glute contract. If you have got a lazy side and you don't feel much, keep going on the lazy side until you notice fatigue. So maybe you do 10 on one side and 15 on the other side, just to restore a little bit of balance. So for me, I'm getting towards 10, but not much going on this side. So I might do a few more. Focus on your abs, belly button pulling to the back of the ribs. So you're really using your powerhouse. So now finally, there's a little bit of fatigue going on for me. So that would be the time to stop. So just coming off your pillow, just do a few little knee bends, a few ponies. Grab the pillow or the football. If you've got a football, you could put the ball between above the knees. If not, just fold your pillow in half and put the pillow there. Have the feet at the same distance as wherever your legs are now with the pillow, and just do some little squats and squeeze as you come up. So as you come up, focus on your bottom muscles. So it's not a huge squeeze, but you just contract your bottom and then relax. So you're contracting. So this is working some specific muscles. This one specifically works your inner quad, which is one that tends to get weaker as we get older, and then we start to get knee issues. So we've got the outer quad, the inner quad, the middle quads, and they hold the knees in, stable in knee bend. But if the inner one weakens, then you're going to start to collapse in the knee and you're going to get some issues. You're going to get pain. So this is vastus medialis, this one here. Quite an important muscle in the body. And now take the ball away. So another one for vastus medialis is to go into a wide stance, toes turned out to a comfortable width, and just do a plie squat. So the focus in the plie squat is think inner thigh squeeze as you draw back up. So knee bend and then draw the thighs together, pull up through the pelvic floor. So really focus on inner thighs, so you activate that inner quad. It's going to work anyway, but you can make it work more by just using your focus a bit more. Don't go so deep that your knees feel uncomfortable. So in this exercise, it's not so much about the knee bend, it's about the contraction as you come out of it. So just find your own depth. Last one. Lovely. And then just bring the feet together. And again, just do some ponies and just allow your body to relax. So we've just got one last one now, which is for the muscles at the back of the pelvis. We're going to take the outside leg to the side. We're going to turn the big toe down, and we're just going to do some leg lifts with the toe turned down. This is really going to get to glute medius. The glute medius is one of the most important muscles in the body as we get older, along with vastus medialis. So those two muscles getting weaker creates all sorts of problems in our knees and our hips. So I would say just to do 10, but if you think you've got weakness in this muscle group, you could build up to sort of 50. So do a few knee bends. And then we do the other side. And if you know one side is weaker than the other, then do 10 on the strong side and 50 on the weak side. So first position, outside leg to the side. Don't let your upper body move too far. Turn your big toe down. Lift and lower. So for me, this is my weak side. So I would do 50 on this side and 10 on the other. Today, we'll just do 10. Got to keep the toe pointing down or another muscle will jump in. And our hip should feel nice because we've really worked on freeing up the muscles in the hip complex. 9 and 10. So knee bends, ponies. So we're going to go now to the floor. When we do a bridge, we're going to work the glutes, but when we put the ball at the knees, we're working that inner quad again. And so we're just going to have the feet at a comfortable width. We're just going to lift and lower. And lifting and lower. Make sure the height that you're lifting to is comfortable for the back. And then add a squeeze, but not so much that you feel it at the front of your pelvis. You just want to feel in the brain the inner thigh muscles. So it's just more for feedback than anything. And just take a few nice breaths. If you're doing the bridge and you notice tension in your neck, you get rid of the pillow. So when you lift up through the pelvis, it can put pressure into the neck if you've got a pillow there. So just keep going until you feel the inner thighs, you feel the bottom muscles. Last one. Lift up and stay up, and then just drop the right side of your pelvis and roll down through the right side of your rib cage, the back of the waist on the right, nice and slow so the back's okay, through the back of the pelvis on the right, and then level up your pelvis, tuck your tailbone under and lift up in center. Now drop the left side of your pelvis and roll down the left side of your rib cage. Nice and slow. If the back's a bit stiff, slow it down through the waist, through the back of the pelvis, level the pelvis up, and then gently lifting, drop the right side of the pelvis, roll down through the right ribs, upper ribs, middle ribs, lower ribs, waist, pelvis, level up through the pelvis, pelvic tuck to lift up, drop the left side of your pelvis, roll down through the left rib cage, upper ribs, middle ribs, lower ribs, waist, pelvis, come back into level, tuck your tailbone under. If that is still challenging, just do a few more nice and slow. If you want to advance it, you're going to drop the right side of your pelvis. You're going to roll slowly down the right side of your body. When the pelvis lands, you're going to roll across to the left side and tuck your tailbone under and come up on the left. Come all the way up into center. And then you're going to drop the left side of your pelvis, roll down the left side of your body. When the pelvis lands, you roll through a level pelvis across to the right side, tuck your tailbone under and come up through the right side of your body. Do that one more time. Drop the right hip, roll down the right side. So each time you do it, you're getting a little bit looser. As you roll across to the left side, you use a pelvic tuck to lift up. Takes quite a lot of abdominal strength to get the pelvis up on the left side, come into center. Last time, drop the left side pelvis, roll down to the left. When the pelvis lands, roll across to the right side,
pelvic tuck to lift up on the right side, come up into center, and now the last time we're going to roll down through the center. So we just give our back one good stretch as we come out of it. Take the ball away for a minute and just hug our knees, bring our head into our knees and just give ourselves a really good stretch. Slowly down through the head and take the feet down 1 and 2. Have a nice level pelvis, extend your right leg, turn the big toes outwards, and I want you to do 10 straight leg lifts, but with your inner thigh facing the ceiling. So you stay turned out. So this is going to work your abdominal muscles, but it's still working that vastus medialis, that inner quad. So if you think inner thigh to ceiling, stay very level through the pelvis. So you should feel your low transversus, the muscles that run across the front of the pelvis, slow down, and your inner thighs. Maybe there's a bit of a stretch in the groin if you've got psoas and iliopsoas in here as well. Really nice stretch. And then bend your knee, bring your knee in, stretch, and then just let your knee fall inwards and just stretch some muscles that are at the back of the pelvis. And then let the knee fall out. Do that again. Pull the knee across the midline, stretching the back of the pelvis, falling out. One more time. Knee falls in, knee falls out, into center, and put the foot down. Feet hip space, extend your left leg, turn your big toe out, keep your pelvis level, and you're lifting your inner thigh to the ceiling. So keep the big toe turned out. If the big toe's pointing to the ceiling, you're going to work your inner quad, your middle quad, which is already one of the strongest muscles in the body. So you don't really need to target this middle quad. It's the inner quad that's getting weaker. So keep the turnout in the hip, keep the pelvis in neutral. There's a little bit of a space in the small of the back. A couple more. If you turn the toe out, you also switch off that strong middle quad, which doesn't need the exercise. It's usually too tight. It's one of your hip flexors. It gets too tight. Last one. And then bring the knee in, hug the knee, stretch. Take the knee across the midline. You see how tight you are in the back of the pelvis. Come back through center. Let the knee fall out. That's your adductors, your inner thighs. So come through center, across. Come through center, falling out. We did it 3 times, just as a little preparation. Falling in. Last time, falling out. Come into center, put the foot down. So I want you to grab your 2 soft balls and I want you to put them at the back of your pelvis, sort of in the upper third of your pelvis, about halfway out. So glute medius. And this is usually one of the more active triggers in glute medius. And we're just going to lift one knee and lower, lift the other knee. So you're in the upper third, just below the rim of the pelvis, below the pelvis by about 3 fingers or so. Right in the middle, either side. So if you were to hold your pelvis with your hands, where your thumbs are, pretty much that's where your balls should be either side. And you notice as you do this that the longer you do it, the more painful it might become. So this is abdominal as well. Even though we're focusing on the trigger points, you're pulling in through the in and up through the pelvic floor. You feel like you could pull the fronts of your pelvis, your hips closer together. So imagine that airplane seat belt, pulling the hips closer together. So really recruit transversus. So we just stay with this a little bit longer. I'll check my list that I'm on track pretty much. So then we're going to lift the feet off the floor And we're going to do that mini marching. So you don't want to make this too deep. You don't want to take the feet too close to the floor. So it's just a small switch. And you notice now that the abs are working much harder. You're pulling up through the pelvic floor. You're imprinting your belly button towards the back of the rib cage. Feel like the hips are being pulled in. So this is called marching, mini marching. And then bring the feet together and you're going to have the knees wide. You're going to lower one foot to tap the floor and come back up. Lower the other foot to tap the floor and come back up. So we're still working on the triggers for glute medius. Couple more. And then if you want to advance it, strong abs, you could lower both feet, but you don't really think about touching the floor. Just lower the legs until you feel the load in the abs, the low abs. If you feel your spine, your lumbar spine, starting to lift away from the floor, then you know that you're going too deep. Really pull your belly button towards the back of your ribs. Feel like you've got tight waistband around the waist. Abs are working. So the weight of two legs is quite advanced. You can feel the load below the belly button working hard. And then just take one foot to the floor, take the other foot to the floor, still with the balls where they are, just do some pelvic tucks. So just allow your back to relax after that. So you could take the ball down a bit now. So we're right in the middle of the bottom. If you think of the bottom as a circle, you're right in the middle of the circle. So you're really on your piriformis and your glute max triggers. And you're going to float your right leg, turn out at the hip, and you're going to lower and lift. And lower and lift. And lower. If you want to get a little bit fancy, you could flex down, you could point up, you could flex down, you could point up. If you want to get a bit harder, flex up and point down. Flex up, so that's a hamstring stretch. Make sure your back is comfortable with that. A couple more, so we're multitasking here, we're putting things together. Trigger point work as well as abdominal work as well as stretching. Just hug the knee for a minute. Put the foot on the floor. Extend. You're going to float the left knee, extend and turn out. You're going to lift and lower. Keep the pelvis level. A little bit of a space in the small of the back. So then we played around with flexing on the down, pointing on the up. You can keep your knee a little bit bent if you're tight in the hamstrings. And then if you really want to go advanced, you're going to flex up, very strong hamstring stretch, point down, flexing up. You're still slightly turned out. You want to be working that vastus medialis still. So really nice leg work, nice ab work, still working on the muscles in the trigger points. Last one. And hug the knee, quick stretch. Foot to the floor. So from here, we're going to just float our knees. So, move the ball around, find somewhere that feels like, so anywhere really in the bottom. So you could move out a bit if you want to get into the piriformis, move in a bit if you want to work on glute medius, move up a bit if you want glute medius. And we're going to just lift the knees. We're going to just draw circles with our knees. So we can feel that's applying quite a bit of pressure. And then we could circle the other way. And then bring our feet and knees together. Have the femurs, the leg bones, pointing up to the ceiling. You don't want them down here where they're loading up the back. The knees want to be directly over the hips. And we're going to open our right knee and then really deepen our abs to draw the knee back in. Open our left knee, deepen the abs to draw back in. So you could do single knee opening, or if you think you're strong enough, you could try opening both knees and then deeply tighten your abs as you draw the thighs together. So you're opening and then pull up through the pelvic floor, imprint the belly button. You can also think inner thigh squeeze that activates your pelvic floor. And again. Couple more. So while we're doing this, we forget about those trigger points because our brain is diverted to really focusing on using the powerhouse. Last one. And maybe we'll just take the right leg to the ceiling. Just draw some circles. Turn out at the hip. If you're tight in the hamstrings, you're doing a bent knee version of this. And then stay turned out and go the other way. So a long leg is going to really work those low abs. And then just fold the knee and take the left leg up, turn out at the hip, circle. So you can feel that energy spiraling down the leg into the ball. Change direction, stay turned out. Should be feeling this in your low abs, not your back. If it's too much, you just hug your knees, have a little rest, and just hug your knees now, a little bit of a stretch. Take the feet down, 1 and 2. Take the balls out for a minute, roll sideways and come up into sitting. So we're going to use the balls here, but this is where you might, depending on how sensitive you are, you might want the rolled up towel instead. So the towel's there if you change your mind, and you're going to put the ball. So you've got your leg bone comes up, you've got the greater trochanter, which is that hard bump at the top of the leg, and you're just behind it. And you're coming into a side lying position, and that's going to put you on your piriformis trigger. And just see if you could lift the knee. So if that is excruciatingly painful, then, and we've chosen soft balls, you could just put the rolled towel at the back of the leg. So where the leg comes up, you've got the bone there, you're just behind the bone because this muscle attaches to the bumps on the top of the leg bone, and you're just moving the knee. So it might be better to use the firmed up rolled towel, which is like a mini roller. So just see how you're going with this. And then from here, you're going to come up into a seated position. You're going to take the ball away, but you're going to put the towel under the knee now, the other foot at the back, and just see if you could lift your foot. You might want to lie flat. So this is stretching the muscles at the back of the pelvis. So sometimes they need to be stretched as well as strengthened. If you're really flexible, some people can do it from the floor, but I can't. I'm pretty tight in these muscles. So if you've got SI joint dysfunction, if you've got leg length discrepancies, you've got different things going on. If you've got impingement in some of your lumbar vertebra, these muscles can get really, really irritated at the back of the pelvis. They can become weakened, or they can shorten and tighten like the piriformis does and cause sciatica. Okay, so then just carefully now, changing sides. So again, we started with the ball at the back of the leg comes up, we've got the hard bump at the top of the leg, we're just behind that hard bump, and we're on the elbow. Oopsie, hang on. We're on the elbow. For me, this is a lot more painful. This leg's straight, and you're just gently lifting and lowering the leg. So this side is tight for me, so it's already quite painful. So you could lie flat. And you could just do it that way, and you can also just move the knee with the hand. So the piriformis goes from the top of the leg across to the sacrum, and it's a sort of a horizontal band. So anywhere behind the lesser trochanter, sorry, greater trochanter, then you're going to find where the ligament becomes muscle, and that's where the triggers are. Easy one to find because it's always pretty painful if it's tight. So then we switched, we took the ball away, we put the pillow or the towel under the knee. The other foot is just on the floor, just to give you sort of some support, and then you're lifting, so see how tight I am on this side, to lift that foot off the floor. So to do that means you're going to externally rotate the head of the femur in the hip, which stretches the muscles at the back of the pelvis. The muscles can be short and tight, or they can be long and locked, but they just need to be moved. If you wanted to strengthen these muscles, you would just push on your knee, 1, 2, 3, and then release. Isometric press, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And they say with this exercise to build up to about 50 both sides to get them really stretched out and strong at the same time. So we're coming into wrong sheet, too many instructions. So we're coming into hands and knees. Hands on the shoulders and knees together, and just extend your right leg. And then think about having, you could imagine you've got something balancing on the back of the pelvis. A ball won't be a good thing because it will probably move, but you're going to slide the leg out and imagine like a glass of water on the back of the pelvis. The pelvis is not moving and you're just lifting and lowering. So I can see my ball has moved a little bit, rolled in. So you're just lifting and lowering in that very small range where you're in neutral spine, neutral pelvis. And then you're going to bring the knee back in. The hardest bit is changing legs. So hands under shoulders, knees under hips. So really slowly find your abs, extend your leg, and see if you can lift and lower without losing that imaginary glass of water on the back of the pelvis. It's a great exercise. It strengthens your abdominal muscles. It strengthens your low back. You're moving a little bit into extension through the front of the hip. There's glute work here as well. So about 10, and then bring the knees back in. So I managed to keep my ball, that's good. So hands on the shoulders, knees on the hips. Draw an imaginary line from thumb to thumb. Pull the belly up under the ribs towards the back of the rib cage, and just lower your nose towards the thumb line and press away. So this is for the upper body now. So press up. Easy presses are actually much better than the hard ones because you're more likely to do it properly. Focus on pulling your abs into spine, imprinting, so that you stay very neutral through the upper body. And if you recruit your powerhouse, you're less likely to need to use your neck. If you feel your neck, tuck your chin, take your forehead to the thumb line, so you're lengthening the back of the neck. You're doing 10. So really everything above the waist is working. Last one. And then sit back into the heels, press into your palms, take a breath. And then slowly rolling up. And we're just going to finish now with a mermaid. We're coming into sitting. So a mermaid position, or if you can't do that, you could come into a diamond. You could sit on your pillow if you're too tight in the hips to come into this position. Hand on the floor. You're just coming up and over. So the way to make the mermaid more effective is to drop your sit bone on the same side that the arm is lifting. Drop it towards the floor, so you're really lengthening the long muscles of your back. And then you could even get more out of this exercise by just breathing into the stretching side, the upper side of your rib cage, and see if you can expand. Breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. Switch sides. If you're in the diamond, you stay as you are. So again, the arm comes over, the sit bone drops. And you're breathing into the stretching side of the rib cage, using your diaphragm to really stabilize the lower thoracic and the upper lumbar spine. One more. Come back into center and you finish.